Pretty consistent.
Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. As a reminder, the new era of college football has arrived, so if you're celebrating new conferences, new playoff formats, and the all-new season of Fansville, grab some ice-cold Dr. Pepper. You can do that this Friday and get your picture taken with the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. The trophy will be at the College Station Walmart, 12 to 2. Bryan Walmart on Briarcrest from 3 to 5. College football is the Pepper thing, and I believe at some point during this hour, we will have that trophy in studio. TexAgs Live, the final countdown. The McKinney brothers are here. Woo! Steve, hello.
We're back, baby.
Hello.
Back for another season.
Gig 'em.
Gentlemen, so when's the last time? Well, I guess it was last season, all of us together on the studio. How are we feeling about the new year?
I feel great about it, man. There's been a lot of developments, obviously, but tremendously excited to get this kicked off, and let's see where it takes us.
Yeah.
What?
Here it comes.
What do you got? Here we go. I can't wait. Let's start it off right.
Bro, your elbow sticks out like 4 inches from this angle. What is going on?
Yeah, burst a sack.
We got to get adjusted to this new studio view
Yeah,
here.
it is. We've never seen you at this angle.
It's pretty rough.
Well, first of all, Steve, I want to start. Welcome back. It is weird, a little weird, because when we're talking, we're doing, but
A little far away.
I do have a Seth story for Steve. You could appreciate, but I think so. To Seth's credit, he wanted to come out to practice.
Oh, wow.
And do some research.
Some research.
Get some prep.
Very unseth-like.
So he
very
comes to practice.
walrus-like.
He comes to practice with me. This is probably a 100+ degree day for sure.
Well, and
he's dressed
listen,
like
I'm going to
this.
give a little background.
I already know
too.
where that's going.
I'm prepped for like a 30-minute deal. Billy's like, look, it's the media access, be 30 minutes. So I come like fully pantsed and clothed and
ready to go to work.
Yeah, just like I'm going to go out there for a bit. I know it's going to be hot. I'm going to get misty. And then you can finish this story.
Well, ends up being a little longer, just talking to people, and I think they let everybody kind of stay around. And so Seth wants to leave, and you know how he's throwing a fit. Like, I'm about to, once I start sweating, it's over. Once I start sweating.
At that point, I'm like dripping with sweat.
Yes,
and I'm
you are.
unprepared to drip with sweat.
So the football team now, for those of you that haven't seen practice, they have a giant
meat locker, dude.
cooling tent. Yeah, it's like
it's not even fair.
It is
nice.
and by the way, they were the last team in the SEC, I believe, too.
Oh, really?
It's a giant tent that you walk in. It's probably like 55 degrees. The whole team goes in there at a certain point to cool off. The whole team fits. I can't find Seth.
He's in there.
He's in there by himself in the tent while the team's practicing. All of a sudden, I see him come walking out the door like you're walking out of a porta potty, and then I make him
Still sweating.
Then I make him stay longer, and now he's sweating and hungry. And I'm like, hey, let's just watch this 2-minute drill. Seth finally loses it. I know what you're doing, you son of a, like, you're keeping me out here.
You're trying to make me sweat.
So he is no longer game ready.
I was off for the rest of the day, man. It was like that was just too much for a non-football player.
But he did.
That's great.
He did study the O-line. I know that's a position you're more excited about than you were a couple of years ago when you went and watched them.
No, it was, honestly, it was like a night and day transition.
Ago.
Between, and I know you can attest to it from being at the camps and listening to Cushing, but just going in, the different approach, not only the level of coaching that it looked like was going on, but the level of, calmness and peacefulness that it was, which is great. You can't coach, you're just constantly yelling and complaining and growling. I mean, like, I know that exists and there's a place for that, but not a constant level of that, no matter how nice you are off the field. Yeah. But to get true coaching in, you have to coach, and you have to be a normal guy, and that's the way that it seemed that Cushing was. And, it was good to see, and the players were reacting to it. And by the way, those guys are just giants, man. It's wild to see.
Some big dudes.
And it's exciting. I think there's a lot of potential in that group, and I mean that's what it is potential. They have to go out and prove themselves. Like, you've got guys like Basantis who are young, but he's got all the makings of being just a tremendous and great player, and you can't wait to see it. And this is what we're playing for right here, baby.
There it is, the national championship trophy right there. Look at that.
Look at that.
Hopefully our offensive line can lead us to getting one of these bad boys.
Hope that's not the last time we see this.
I know.
In College Station.
It's coming. This is freaking
what I'm
awesome.
talking about, man.
Look at this.
That's
It's
beautiful.
staying.
Can you imagine
It's staying.
us doing this? He's doing it so delicately.
Thank you. Why do I feel like this picture is going to be some kind of
Oh, meme. It's gonna. Oh yeah, this is
closest
definitely.
you'll ever get to that thing? I mean, it is.
So they're already memeing it. It's already happened.
It's done.
It's done.
It's cool. It's badass. I want to see the front of it, but I don't want to touch it and move it and break the trophy.
Thank you to Dr. Pepper, by the
That'll
way.
be a better meme, even.
Dr. Pepper.
Thank you. They'll be at the College
Great.
Station Walmart 12 to 2, Bryan Walmart 3 to 5.
Okay, great commercials. Great. I love that whole Fansville thing they've been doing for.
They
a couple
do.
years.
Those are some great commercials.
I'm a big fan of
Great
DDP,
commercials.
so I'm glad they're
Even
a part of it.
even the series they had before that with the guy walking up and down the aisle selling cold Dr. Pepper.
yeah, that guy
Even
was
that
good,
guy
too.
was good. They've been strong in the college football
You're a
arena.
big fan of DDP.
Diet
Diet Dallas
Dr. Pepper.
Page.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Hey, so can you guys speak, and I think from both sides, we talked about the A&M
Take a
angle.
picture.
Wait, I want in this.
Here we go.
Wait, let me
Great.
get
This is
behind
great
you.
radio, by the way.
Let's touch it. Let's
All
touch
right,
the trophy.
Seth.
It is great radio.
So chemistry on the offensive line. So we're talking about the A&M side of things, but for Notre Dame, like this is a group that has 6 combined starts. These guys were not expected to play this
6?
year. Combined starts on that O-line against our defensive line.
This is probably not the place or time that I would want to come in to Kyle Field with 6 starts on my offensive line. Against that defensive line with the crowd they're going to have Saturday night, that's going to be a tough task for sure for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a position group where you just can't afford to have inexperience early against a great defensive line, and it's going to be a great situation for A&M to enter into, and we just have to make hay with it. You know what I mean? Because they're going to be youthful, and they're going to be nervous.
You got to get
There's
on
a
them
lot
early.
of communication. And
They will settle down.
So what I
eventually.
want to ask you is to get on them early, and I'm sure that's the same for Notre Dame and that stout defensive front. They're going to be thinking the same thing. Because for all that experience, as a unit, these guys haven't been a part of a quality unit yet.
Yeah.
The 100 starts or whatever. If you're Notre Dame, how do you think Notre Dame's going to attack early to not kind of get behind the chains, get buried, kind of get demoralized up front? If you're a coach and you've got an O-line that inexperienced, do you put Riley Leonard in the shotgun and get it out of his hands super quick? And kind of, Seth, we talked to Dan before they played Tampa Bay and Vita Vea in the playoffs where you can't run on them. But right before that game, he said, well, we're not going to throw for a while. Then we're not going to run for a while, but then we're going to run.
Yeah.
Do you do it like that, or do you line up and say we're not going to take losses and we're going to try to test their wherewithal early, see how tough they are? What do you think they do?
Well, I think what's probably going to happen is they're going to first script the first 15 plays,
yeah.
and they're going to make them, just like you said, they're going to be quick passes. They're going to be power runs, common runs that they're comfortable doing, things that don't stress the offensive line too much in the beginning. Because you got to give them a chance to settle down. They have to feel confident going into the first couple of series, like they know what play is about to be called. They know what the guy across from them is kind of doing at that point. So if I was the offensive coordinator, that's how I would do it. I would not do any kind of drop back passes. Now, the way A&M stops that is you got to get them behind the chains early.
Yeah.
Because you throw them off of that script. You force them into a 3rd and long where they have to come off script, and that's when you can really get the crowd into it.
I'm going to read this. Officer Brimley on the YouTube page thinks we're all delusional. He goes,
Wilford Brimley?
Wilford Brimley's son. Notre Dame could have way more starts, boys. Don't act like they had no choice. Those recruits are pretty freaking good on the line. That's not what we're talking about.
No,
No,
that's
it's
true.
not talent. It's not
Why we got to
talent.
be
That's,
boys?
That's what he wrote. I'm just reading what he wrote.
Brimley.
well, that's
Officer
like
Brimley.
Basantis last
No-
year.
no offense.
Basantis came in with 0 starts last year. Tremendously talented kid, but he also played like a kid that had 0 starts.
That's a great example.
No, I mean, I'm
other
just
guys
making
could
the
have
point.
started over.
Like
No, I'm
he's
saying.
extremely talented. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like my first game was against Florida State. Was I prepared to go in against Corey Simon and all those guys? My first
Definitely.
exact like
Definitely
no, I mean,
not.
but I had to, and that's what I did. Like
Well,
good
and
players.
I don't know who your other center was in that game. Who was the backup center?
Toby McCarthy.
Okay. don't know how much more experience he had, but
Boy,
what this guy's talking about. Yeah, we're actually not stupid. We do know that some of these guys you could go with the starts. I get it. A&M's not putting an O-line out there going, he's got the most starts. We'll go with him. You can look up and down it. There are guys that are going to be sitting on the bench with more starts than guys that are in there. Welcome to football at any level, much less college. But you have to discount experience at that position is actually insane. That doesn't mean Notre Dame can't put it together and have one good game. But if you think that lack of experience is going to kick in, I can remember watching Luke Jokel start as a true freshman who was here in the spring, who you and I sat there and heard Dan Campbell and Marco Rivera, who's an incredible college or NFL lineman, say, that's the best lineman I've ever seen at that age.
I was actually in the spring meeting rooms with them, and I can 100% agree with that. He had it made day one.
And he was the most mature mentally. He was a true freshman. He was here in the spring under Mike Sherman and Jim Turner. He started his first game in the Big 12. I remember Jokel with his head on a swivel against Florida International at Kyle Field. And then we watched A&M go up to Oklahoma State, and he got it handed to him by a defensive end from Oklahoma State that was a fringe NFL guy. A couple weeks later, Game 6, Game 7, he never looks back.
Yeah.
He's a number 2 pick in the draft, and quite possibly I think it's him, Jake Matthews, and Richmond Webb as the 3 best offensive linemen that ever played here. No offense to you guys. I don't think you'd argue.
I'm taking.
But his first couple games as what you would just call the 5-star of all 5-stars, he really struggled.
Yeah.
I will say,
Officer Brimley, it does matter. It does matter whether they do a good job tomorrow night or not. It absolutely matters.
So as a position, offensive line is probably the most talent-unfriendly position there is. Like, talent matters, but when you're young, it doesn't matter on offense. Like, you can go to receiver and DB and be perfectly fine as a true freshman.
You can't win with just athleticism, skill, or talent alone. Like, there is a lot of skill involved, a lot of knowledge that's required to react quickly and anticipate what's happening and work with the guys next to you. And that just doesn't happen because you can squat 650 pounds. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, going in with 6 starts is going to be a problem. They are probably very talented guys, and maybe they're well coached, but despite that, they're going to struggle.
And they can overcome it in time, but I mean, it's not going to be perfect. And they'll probably be much better offensive linemen at the end of the year than they are this year. That's all I'm trying to say.
And Officer Brimley, on behalf of the whole set here, we really appreciate you listening to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
If you ever pull us over.
I hope he does.
I hope he does.
If he does, just give Billy a ticket. He was pretty hard.
What if we get pulled over? He comes up and you look at his.
He's waiting for you outside here.
That's Brimley. You're like, oh, crap.
He wants us to check our diabetes, whatever that means. Anyway,
Brimley's a tough guy.
Yeah, he's tough.
Super tough guy. Probably super fit. Actually, Brimley, you suck. I don't like you, loser.
I wish you would.
But keep listening, Brimley.
Hey, but talent on the defensive line.
You're not a real officer anyway.
No, he's fake. He's fake at everything. Fake wife, too. All right, so talent alone and experience. So when you talk about the defensive line for A&M, regardless of how good an offensive line is, that D-line is going to do things to confuse an inexperienced line, I would assume, beyond just the talent alone.
Well, I think that if they want to do that, I mean, obviously we'll see what happens, but running a lot of games is how you can confuse a young offensive line for sure. Games are always hard to pick up with for young guys, but I think it's something that you can take advantage of early just to test them and make sure that they can do it. If they can do it, it's not the end of the world.
Why if you're Elko and A&M and you have all that talent and you think you can win the battles, just head up, what's that balancing act of games?
Yeah.
Because
I
you
wouldn't
guys
do it
also,
every play.
the lesser team, like what are you giving up, Steve, when you run games?
You're giving up your advantage of talent, experience versus young, inexperienced talent. That's the only thing you're really giving up. I mean, but from what I remember watching Elko's defense in the past, they're not a team that runs a lot of games up front. You know, their defensive linemen play a lot of just straight either 2-gap or I don't even remember them doing a lot of 1-gap with his defense. what they did was they would bring backers or disguise safeties come in and things like that to really confuse the quarterback and throw him off. It's not. I don't anticipate seeing a lot of twists, TEs, ETs there up front. That doesn't seem like something they've done in the past. And I could be wrong, but just from my remembering his defenses.
I
wouldn't say what he does.
I was
game plan.
actually curious. I wanted to know because we always talk about how.
I would agree with what Steve said though. Like if you don't want to just do games. That's what
weak
bad
defensive linemen do.
Yeah.
But if you're good, like go at them, but also try to confuse them.
Throw some of
and
that.
see what happens.
You beat offensive lines when you have really good talent up front that can turn an offensive line, get him turned,
Get on an edge.
Then you're bringing a backer that he can't get off from because he's in a bad position. That's how you get pressure on quarterbacks.
There you go.
All right, let's do this. We'll hit a break. We got a lot to get into here, guys. Let's talk about the national attention for the quarterback after this game. There's a lot of attention on the matchup itself. Connor has a great outing. Riley Leonard has a great outing. What that can do for just the hype around them the rest of the way. Seth, you want to start us off?
Sure. I mean, Connor's great. Like I loved him going into last year. I love the way that he started the season and played when he was healthy, and then unfortunately he was hurt. And I think he can pick up right where he left off and be even better with a better offensive system, a better offensive line. And I think that he's going to go out and have a great game. I mean, I see no reason why he shouldn't. He's got everything that a good quarterback needs. He's got a great arm, great mind, and he's got legs. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what he can do, and I feel very confident that he's going to do a good job.
And with all respect to the previous coaching staff, I mean, Connor was playing in a system that didn't really set the quarterback up for great success. Let's be honest. It was very predictable what the offense was going to do. At the same time, not giving the quarterback a chance to really know what the defense was doing. And I think you'll see a lot better performance from him this year, just because of the amount that we'll use motion and different things to not only draw defenses' eyes, at the same time kind of making them expose what they're going to do in coverage. But when you talk about what this game can do, I mean, you're talking about a nationally televised game, prime time, against a top 10 opponent, game days here. Yes, whoever wins this game, the quarterback is going to be in a much more hyped, elevated position.
And on top of that, you have him going against a really good defense.
Yeah,
and not that we're not a good defense. I'm just saying
true.
that their defensive backs are like the marquee position on their team. So
no doubt.
It could be a really great momentum builder for him.
I look at Nick Scorton in this game and just all the anticipation of seeing him in an A&M uniform, what he was able to do at Purdue, and what he can do with this line, with the protection around him. Speak a little bit about what you expect for him to do, Steve.
Well, I mean, I expect him to get a sack this game. I expect him to create a lot of pressure. I think that, he's coming out. I'm saying his last year in college, and I know he wants to really make a name for himself. He's probably played against Notre Dame, or at least been around him a lot.
I think he had 2 sacks against Notre Dame last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I mean, he's got experience against Notre Dame. He's not going to be intimidated by gold helmets. I can assure you that. So I expect him to have a big game and become a household name in Aggieland after Saturday night.
I love the addition of Nick Scorton. I think he's an absolute stud on his way to the NFL. I think he's added so much to this team, like just their day-to-day, the morale, the culture, the toughness. You watch him play, and this isn't going to be something you hear a lot. Thank you. This isn't.
I was wrong. He had 2 sacks against Michigan, but Michigan. Sorry.
Yeah, so I've got my Nantucket coffee cup, Steve. You didn't come to Nantucket with me. Seth
that on the
backed
paper,
out of a
please?
Jackson Hole trip.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So
Protector of the table.
So anyway, I would next time I'll bring you to Jackson.
All right,
you can
thanks.
take 3 days off. So I think the other thing about Nick Scorton, and it's rubbed off already onto these guys. You watch him play. You guys are linemen. Go look at his highlights. A lot of these sacks are like effort sacks. Mm-hmm. They're not just, wow, that was an amazing move, and he just out-athleted the offensive lineman. He doesn't have the longest arms. He's not the tallest DN. That was kind of what landed him at Purdue out of Bryan High. He was a tweener. he has overcome that because he's grown out of tweener status. He's a beast out there, but he still has that mentality that he was an under-recruited guy. He was overlooked.
Yeah.
And he lines up, man, and you watch some of those sacks are just because he is relentless. He won't give up. He won't quit on a play. He can get beat at the start, and he'll still fight you. That's what I love, and I think that, guys, is what, you get a whole unit of five-star talent playing like that, and that rubs off on Shamar Stewart and Shamar Turner and a young guy like a DJ Hicks, Albert Regis, all these guys. I think that's what I love most about what I've seen from Nick Scorton. And I'll tell you a funny story. So Lonnie, two things. I've got a friend who's coaching the Big Ten, and he's an assistant, longtime assistant. And he came up to me before last year in the offseason. He goes, hey, how did that kid from College Station end up at Purdue? I go, oh, you talking about, I go, he's from Bryan High. He's like, how did A&M not recruit him, or Texas, or any of that? How do you? We're talking. He goes, he's the best pass rusher in our conference, and that was as a freshman. He goes, he's the best DN in the Big Ten.
Wow.
This was a rival coach of in the Big Ten. Later on, Lonnie Madison, who was at College Park at the time, they played Bryan High. He told, I think you were with me, Seth, he told us that when they were about to play Bryan, and you think they could win that game, they get here and they're playing here. He said he had to turn his players to where their backs, move them off of where they normally warm up, because he didn't want them to see, at the time, Nick Carraway, they didn't want to see Scorton warming up, and he was just looked like such a beast and so intimidating. Just going through warm-ups, Lonnie was like, guys, turn around.
Don't watch this.
He adds a lot of intangibles. Yeah. My guy, Nuno, that I want to see Saturday, that not enough people talk about, my opinion, there are two guys on this defense that
Did he just say not enough people talk about my opinion? Talk about your opinion.
In my opinion.
Oh, sorry.
A little sensitive early. On that defense, Dalton Brooks, dog.
Oh, here we go.
Cassius Howell, MAC sack leader. They added the Big Ten sack leader. We don't talk enough. They added the guy that led a whole conference in sacks. I know it's a G5. They play quality football over there. He was the best pass rusher in that conference as well. And he's giving A&M something I think the Aggies have lacked. And I think Elko didn't have it at his in his arsenal when he was here the first 4 years, is that long, really long-armed, kind of light, rangy edge guy.
He's fast, too.
And they've got packages with him in it.
I think I saw something on TexAgs even where they were showing the top speed, and he was up there with DBs.
DBs and quarterback.
So
yeah,
I'll talk about my sweat session practice visit. I'm looking at these guys, and just like the offensive line, you're just like, oh my goodness, man, we got some beasts, dude. And you'd see him go, and I made the comment to Billy that I was like, Shamar Turner, man. I was like, we need a hole plugger, a big. I was like, I just don't know if we because at the time Regis wasn't in that rotation, and he's like, dude, Turner's 305. He's a ripped 305. I mean, I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald, but he's that mold where he's 305, but he doesn't have any look to it, and just he
doesn't look like what we think 305 should look like.
He wasn't like my 305. No, I was 305.
We can pull up pictures of that if y'all want to throw them on the back there.
Let's not do that.
Guys, in your opinion, where's A&M vulnerable in this matchup?
I think we talked about one of them.
Yeah,
we talked about the O-line versus D-line and how
O-line is a spot. I mean, you can talk about where they were vulnerable last year, which is DB, but that is not. I don't think that's going to be vulnerable this year, personally. I think that we've had enough guys step up and the guys in the transfer portal. I think that's going to be a position of strength for our team next year. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that we've done a good job of addressing negatives that were, weaknesses for us last year, and then making them something that might be a weakness, but it won't be a glaring weakness, Like the offensive line, I'm very confident that they're going to do a good job. Will they be great? Who knows? That'd be possible. I can say this, is it's very possible with the talent over there. But I'm excited because they're at least not going to be weak like they were last year.
Well, I think where we're probably the most vulnerable defensively, I don't know how vulnerable we really are at any position. I think we're pretty good at every level, and I guess we'll see, Saturday night. But offensively, I have some concerns. I mean, last year, if you look at how we've been able to run the football, our ability to control the clock and run the ball effectively, and even get chunk yards in the running game, we got to have it if we're going to win. Mm-hmm. We can't put the entire season and offense on Connor Weigman to throw the ball down the field to get points every time. But we have to be able to run the football. Losing Reuben Owens is going to hurt. So the other guys got to step up. Moss and Daniels and whoever our third guy is. I mean,
E.J. Smith.
Yeah, E.J. Smith. Yeah, we don't even know what he can do yet. So those three guys are going to have to really step up. But the offensive line in general, I mean, we got to get on guys. We got to stay covered up. We got to get to the second level. We got to finish blocks, work better, much better double teams than we had last year, and just be more physical in general. And so hopefully we'll see that this year.
I definitely noticed that getting to the second level this spring and in camp. That's something that even for an untrained O-line eye has stood out. I'm wide receivers versus that secondary. Elite secondary. I want to see the A&M receivers show me they can get open. I know that Noah and Moose and even Jade can go up and make contested grabs. I've seen enough to know, like, if you're covering me and we throw it up, you got a pretty decent chance of the guy in maroon and white catching it. But I want to see them get open and beat guys in routes and do what Colin Klein and Holman Wiggins in that passing game design them to do, and not make a mistake and run the route exactly how it needs to be to get that little separation, because that's all Connor needs. But I want to see, can the Aggie receivers get open? And then the second part, Notre Dame is going to try to run. They're not winning this football game if they don't physically line up and run the football with some success against A&M. That goes both ways in this game. I want to see the Aggie linebackers stand in there against a power running game and get physical and not miss tackles. And they'll get a great assist with this D-line. So hopefully that pushes them over the top. But you got new starters opposite Torrey and York. There's no Edger and Cooper, so that to me is something else we'll find out.
Yeah, just from remembering Elko's defenses in the past, man, their ability to stop the run is not something that I go in overly concerned about.
You're right.
I mean,
they led the country.
If we were short on talent, yeah, maybe. But with the talent we got and his scheme and the way they've stopped the run in his previous stop, man, I feel pretty confident with that.
Yeah.
It's time for the Freak and the Sleep of the Week. We'll start things off with the Freak of the Week, Steve McKinney.
The Freak of the Week. Hey. Right on cue.
That was good.
That was good.
Dude,
He goes, hey, like that was a good ending to it.
That was so great. Mine, this may not be a surprise, but I think Nick Scorton is going to be the Freak of the Week.
Okay.
I mean, let's think about it, dude. The guy led Big Ten in sacks last year. He's coming home, man. His first game at Kyle Field.
Be fired up.
This guy, he's going to be playing out of his mind. Like, there is no way this guy gets out of this game without at least one sack. He would be the guy on the sideline crying, like weeping after a win if he doesn't get a sack in this game. So I'm going Nick Scorton is going to be the Freak of the Week.
I like it.
Seth?
I'm going to go.
Oh, wait.
Let me just throw one more in there.
Oh.
That's why you just name it, Bill. You're pulling a Billy. Hold on. I just got one more. No. You have that right.
We were going to do like two each and shut you out. Okay.
No, wait, I'm next.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Seth, you're screwing the whole plan up here, buddy.
Connor, man, I'm going with Connor.
Okay.
He's going to be the Freak of the Week for sure on my end. He's going to go out there with a new offensive system, which I am tremendously excited just to see what it all means. I mean, like, I've watched all this stuff on YouTube about Colin Klein's offense, and I've tried to watch it in practice and figure out exactly what the scheme is. It's going to take a little bit of sitting and actually watching a whole game progress to go, okay, this is what we're doing. But I'm excited just to see what is going to happen out there, and whether he's going to be running the ball a lot, which he can do, or whether he's going to be asked to pass the ball more, which he can also do. So I'm tremendously excited, and I think he's going to be the Freak of the Week for sure.
I think if Connor Weigman has what an opportunity for not only A&M, but for him as a quarterback. If you have a game against this defense and that logo and that leprechaun and that history with College game day in prime time in front of 100,000+ on season opening weekend, I think a lot of questions, a lot of narratives about this A&M football team in year one under Mike Elko will change. Because then, if A&M wins 17-13 and we're all going to be thrilled, and Connor Wigman will be happier than any of us. But if it's that type game and it's, a struggle and it's just kind of a battle of attrition and the Aggies win, great for Connor, great for Elko, great for the program, great for the fans. But if it's a game where he plays really well, and I'm not talking about 400 yards but if he's the best player on the field tomorrow night, what does that do for how this team is viewed moving forward? Because then people will start to think.
Well, it answers a huge question about the most important position in football.
Yep.
Quarterback.
My freak of the week, since y'all went with those two, I'm going to go. I'm doing two of them. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm going Bryce. I'm going Bryce Anderson, who we haven't mentioned this whole show.
Yep.
Who's coming back as a junior. He's moved off that nickel spot. Elko said it this offseason very bluntly. He's like, he's a safety. He's not a nickel. He's my safety. And I think he's going to be the quarterback of this defense along with York. I like Bryce Anderson to get an interception or to somehow be involved in a turnover defensively and make some big plays for this defense on Saturday night. And then my other guy is Shamar Stewart. You talk about Scorton, DJ Hicks, Albert Regis. I mentioned Cassius Howell. I think Shamar Stewart is going to be a guy that maybe there's extra attention paid to Nick Scorton. If you do that at your own risk, because number 4 might cause an absolute damn scene in there. Shamar Turner taking some of that heat, and then all of a sudden here's
so many guys
4.
to choose up front there.
Shamar Stewart could have a one of those type games. Remember when Miles Garrett? Okay, he had 2.5, 3 sacks. Guess who had 4 against Arizona State in the season opener? Deshaun Hall. I think it could be one of those type games where, yes, we are talking about Scorton for great reason. Shamar Stewart might say, don't forget about me, guys.
Yeah.
All right, now time for the Sleeper of the Week, presented by the Sleep Station. Go see Jerry McLeod and ask about the Tempur-Pedic and Purple mattress in the Specs parking lot at Texas and Harvey and in front of the Lowe's at William D. Fish and Highway 6 website, thesleepstation.com.
I'm going to see the Sleep Station.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I need to.
I do too.
I've been sleeping bad. I've been hearing about this guy that I'm going to pick for about 3 years.
How'd he go?
From my younger brother, Sean, who coaches at Centerville.
Can I guess?
Oh, no, you don't have to guess. I think we all know who this kid is. He's like one of those small-town East Texas legends like Rodney Thomas or Leonard Davis. You know what I mean? Ed Jasper. Just coming in,
Steve
dominating
McKinney,
2A football.
Centerville.
And that's Terry Bussey, man. I can't wait. I don't know. Like, really, whatever they do with him is going to be fine, but he's going to be a sleeper for sure because, I don't know, he's a freshman. I mean, I think everybody's awake for this kid, but
no, he's
I'm
a
excited
sleeper
to see
because
him.
no one's really going to know what side of the ball, what phase of the game he's going to be utilized in. And that's something that they've really done a job of kind of saying, like, hey, we're going to work him everywhere. And he's going to do a little bit of everything. And he's shown as a freshman, he's capable of that. He's a freaking future star.
Yeah.
Steve?
Well, my sleeper of the week is going to be Amari Daniels.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Because I think it's easy to say, Le'Veon Moss is.
It's not deep sleep, Seth. He only led the team in rushing last
Yeah.
year.
Well, my bad.
Exactly why he's a
not what I'm
sleeper.
going for.
Because people like Seth don't even realize what the impact a guy like him could have on this season. Because we're going to need him, right, to step up. I mean, Le'Veon Moss, love the guy, great running back, strong, hard runner. Gets banged up a lot, unfortunately. Amari Daniels has
Well,
got.
and because of that, you understand that, and you're gonna split the load.
He's not going to be a guy they're going to give 30 carries to. So they are going to split the load. I just see Amari Daniels as a great change of pace type guy. He may not have Olympic level speed, but he has, I think, elite vision. He is very good about anticipating where the holes are going to come open, and he takes advantage of those. And he does run hard. So, I mean, I look for Amari Daniels to have a good game tomorrow night. I could see that.
William?
I've kind of already mentioned Cassius Howell.
Yeah.
And I think he could be a guy. So I'm going to try to think of someone else to. It's hard to put O-lineman as a sleeper of the week. I think I'm going to go with tight end Trey Watson.
Okay.
I'm excited about him and Theo. I'm excited about the tight end in this Colin Klein offense in
Where did
general.
this guy come from? I don't even know.
Fresno State.
Okay.
And he was committed to Washington.
I think he was already on campus.
He was at Washington. Kalen DeBoer was taking him at Washington.
Was on the sidelines of the national championship game with Kalen DeBoer and the team there.
Really? Wow.
And then Kalen DeBoer left to Bama. He got out of that. Came to A&M to join his former teammate Jalen Henderson from Fresno. And I just think he can be a weapon in the passing game. I know Notre Dame has a nice tight end in Mitchell Evans. I think he's a beast, and he's going to be a problematic matchup for the Aggies. I think Trey Watson can be a problematic matchup for that Notre Dame defense as well.
Nice.
McKinley Polanski at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. You've got our games for us. Why don't you start it off with game number 1?
Number 1 is number 1 Georgia versus number 14 Clemson.
And the spread?
And that's line.
Spread is 13.5.
Oh, yes, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is a neutral location, and they are favored by 13.5 points.
Okay, the Dogs by 13.5.
Give me Georgia.
Pick against Georgia.
I'm picking Georgia. That's
Now, David Pollack gave me something interesting to think about. There's some injuries, and Etienne isn't playing. So they're not 100% ready to roll, but he still thinks they'll roll because that's how they recruit.
yeah.
It's so hard to pick against Georgia, but I think people have quit on Dabo too soon. By the way, do you like my duck hat?
I do.
Duck
like it.
camp.
Hat.
Duck
You guys
camp.
are scared to put a hat on.
Well,
my hair is very.
we didn't
fragile.
come in here wearing a hat like you did.
That's true. That's a fair point.
That's great.
Another fair point is that I think people are giving up, not giving up, but I think expectations have been lowered for Cade Klubnik. And I still think that dude's got something in him to be great. With that said, it's Georgia. I think they're going to have an absolutely smothering defense again this year. And so it's going to be hard for Clemson to score. I like Georgia to cover. Maybe a competitive game, but Georgia's still to pull away and cover.
McKinley?
Number 2 is number 8 Penn State at West Virginia, and Penn State was favored by 8.5 points.
This one really scares me because I think Penn State is probably pretty good, but I really don't know enough about West Virginia to pick that one. But I know they played them pretty close last year up at Penn State. So
I'll say this. So what are you doing?
I was gonna wait to hear y'all's feedback.
I went with West Virginia on
My
this one.
feedback is this. I'm torn. I got to hang out with James Franklin in Vegas this Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah. Any inside,
Loved him.
inside
Really
information,
impressive.
though?
Great
Did he love
dude.
his team though?
Knew a lot about A&M, a lot. Was very familiar with A&M from his time at Vandy. The Texas job, he was about to land that one. He knows Elijah Robinson and the roster. That has nothing to do with this game. I just like the dude. I want to go to a game at Penn State this year, Steve. You're invited. You can be my
Whiteout.
guest.
Penn State would be a pretty cool place to
I'm
go.
going to pick. Not only anyone's pick. I'm
hard place
picking
to
Penn
get to.
State.
With that said, I'm picking West Virginia.
You and me
and you
both.
know why? Because it's in Morgantown. Pat McAfee is not here in
Island
College
Husker.
Station. I guess he's here now. He flew in late last night. McAfee, or no, he's not here right now. They're doing the show in West Virginia. He's
coming.
flying in late tonight. They have shut down school in Morgantown, West Virginia for the Pat McAfee show.
Are you serious?
They shut down school for a podcast
Oh my goodness.
or a YouTube show, not a podcast. That's how big this deal is. Penn State coming in there. That's what a big deal this is. One of the toughest places to play in the country. I like West Virginia to cover, Penn State to win.
Yeah. I think I'm going there too. You've convinced me.
I'm sticking with my pick. Penn State.
You have to now.
Keep it on YouTube, by the
New
way.
rule.
Bye to Brian Broadcasting in the Zone. We'll see you on Monday. McKinley, game number 2. 3, excuse me.
Number 19, Miami at Florida, and Miami is favored by 2.5 points.
I'm going to take Florida.
That's exactly.
I mean, I got to think they're going to bounce back from last year. They got to be sick of hearing all the trash talk all off season. In Miami, with Cristobal, like they just, I can't get behind that.
I can't either. I'm picking Florida.
That quarterback is dynamic at Miami, though.
Who
Cam
is it?
Ward, who was at Washington State last year. He's the truth.
I've talked to some people that would disagree with you.
Okay.
Football people. They're like, not sold on him.
Well, he does fumble the ball a lot.
40
40 fumbles in 4 years.
what?
40 fumbles.
Like
Fumbles?
turnovers?
No,
but
just
still.
40 fumbles.
Wow, that's a lot.
Regardless.
I like Graham Mertz more than most people. I think he's a very solid college quarterback. I think Florida's desperate. I think everyone's written them off. That is a tough position to be in. Miami went nuts in the portal. There's something about Shannon Dawson as an OC, and I did like Miami's O-line seemed to start to look more like a Cristobal O-line. I think Miami goes in there and wins a very close one. Because of that, I'm actually going to pick Florida. I mean, I'm talking about 1-2 points, and then that gives me a little bit of if I'm wrong and Florida wins. So I'm going to pick Florida to cover, but barely. Like Miami, I don't even know who I'm picking to win that game. I'm going to pick Miami, but really close. The Swamp's going to be freaking rocking. This is.
I mean, how close can it get, dude? They're favored by what, 2.5?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a 1 or 2 point game. Like I think it's going to be that close. So that's why
Like
I'm
a
saying
last-second
I may as well
one.
go with Florida because then that gives me all that side of it as well. Man, it's tough to win on the road early in the season, week 1. So Miami's up against that. Notre Dame's up against that. Penn State's up against that. This is not one of these neutral site early season games like Clemson, Georgia's neutral, right? That's Atlanta. And then LSU, USC. That's different, which, by the way, I think we might be about to talk about that one.
McKinley.
Number 23, USC versus number 13, LSU at Allegiant Stadium, which is a neutral location. And LSU is favored by 4.5.
Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this, but I don't know. I mean, like Florida, LSU, I don't know their quarterback situation. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fine.
LSU's?
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know about
Are they getting this kid back?
It's Nussmeier.
Gary Nussmeier.
What do you mean back? Where'd he go?
No, I'm talking about the kid that played us last year.
Yeah, what was his
Jaden
name?
Daniels, the
Jaden Daniels
Heisman
in
winner.
the
That's what I
NFL.
thought.
That kid.
Yeah, that kid.
Are they getting him back?
You mean the guy that got drafted in like the top
Good.
5? Yeah.
Good. He's gone.
He's not going to be there.
So I'm picking USC is what I'm trying to get to.
He really prepped this year.
I love it. The old
care about
Walrus
him.
is back.
I care about A&M. All right.
Jaden Daniels is going to be really tough for the Aggies and
Who's
USC
that guy
to
that
stop.
quarterback-
That's what I didn't say that. I said they got a new quarterback, and then you acted like
You
they
did
didn't
not.
have that.
dude.
Yes,
You're
I
like,
did.
Is that guy from last year back or?
No, I didn't. I
Garrett
said that after y'all acted like
Garrett
idiots about it.
Nussmeier.
Okay, fine.
Who
was
started
great.
their bowl game.
Thank you, Seth.
I like Nussmeier and this LSU offense, and I think the best unit on the field for both teams will be the LSU offensive line. So I think when push comes to shove early in the season, I don't trust Lincoln Riley. I think Brian Kelly teams are typically going to be better coached, maybe not more. Lincoln Riley I trust with offense, but that LSU defense stunk last year. It was so bad. And that'll be the big test is can USC exploit and go up and down the field. But with a new QB at USC also, by the way, Seth, Caleb Russell got drafted. Seth's really looking forward to this Caleb Russell,
Caleb
Jaden
Russell?
Daniels matchup. Caleb Williams.
We got
We got our old linebacker.
Thank you,
Caleb.
Walrus.
I was trying to think who Caleb Russell was.
Caleb
Like,
Williams versus Jaden
Me
Daniels
too. I
in
was like,
Vegas.
who's Caleb Russell?
The last two Heisman winners dueling it out in Vegas. It's going to be a preview of maybe what's to come in the NFL.
Hey,
I'm
Williams versus
excited
Daniels.
about
Reminds
it.
me of a great country song, What Might Have Been.
But
man.
I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels and LSU in this.
Jaden
one.
Daniels. Okay.
I'm gonna take Daniels against Williams.
I'm going Caleb
Also-
Williams. It's going to be good. I think future 1-2 NFL pick, something like that.
Yeah.
Close.
McKinley.
My goodness.
Boston College
It's
at
McKinley and the McKinneys.
Yep.
The McKinleys.
And then we have another intern, Jackson. When they're together,
McKinley Jackson.
there you go. Billy doesn't care.
I would rather have a Wilson Phillips.
That'd be good.
All in Oates.
Yeah.
I got nothing after
All right,
that.
McKinley, you can go now.
Jodeci.
Boston College at number 10, Florida State. And Florida State is favored by 15.5 points.
Give me
Bill
Boston
O'Brien, ladies and
College.
gentlemen.
Boston College.
Give me BC.
BC.
OB.
That's at Florida State?
Yep. They came back from Ireland. They drank a lot of pints of Guinness. They got that ass whooped by the King, Haynes King,
The King.
Georgia Tech.
Reigned.
Hangover, literally and physically. Jet lag for a couple days. Bill O'Brien goes in there and Florida State wins. Boston College covers.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say the same thing. I'm thinking back to 1995 when 1996 when we flew up to BYU, lost that game, and we thought man, we're gonna turn things around this next game, and then we went out and lost that one too. So I'm gonna go with we came back and did two-a-days.
Yeah,
for 2
I was about to
weeks.
say, was that before or after y'all did 2 days again?
We came back and did two-a-days, and then we went out
still
and
went.
lost again. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Boston College to cover.
I think we all did. Nice.
So you lost to Sark.
Yes.
You got Sarked
And I would use the word
then-
"we" very loosely.
because the offense
Yeah.
scored a lot.
We scored plenty.
Hey,
And then you lost to. Do you take a lot of credit for offense in that Louisiana Lafayette game?
The one where Brandon threw three pick
A lot of
sixes,
fumbles. A lot of fumbles.
multiple pick sixes. No, I don't take credit
Some
for
bad
that.
blocking.
do you guys realize who the head coach at Boston College is, though?
Who?
Yes, we just.
I know
said
you
it.
do, but I don't think they
No.
heard.
Who?
Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien?
Yeah. Oh, so is that a
I'm
change?
changing my pick.
Seth probably thinks it's Tom Coughlin.
No. Tom Coughlin. Now I'm thinking Florida State now.
I'm out.
Glenn Foley, quarterback.
I'm sticking with
Who is Glenn Foley?
He was the quarterback for Tom Coughlin. 19.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say that name sound familiar, but it's an old name.
Yep. Old school.
About Mick Foley.
And finally,
Nick Foley.
Number 7, Notre Dame
Axel Foley.
at number 20, Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is favored by 3.5 points.
3.5
I
now?
am going to.
My goodness.
Oh man, just cry me a river. I'm going to pick A&M to win and cover this deal. I think Notre Dame is coming into a hornet's nest, and our offensive line is going to be prepared much better than last year. Our defensive line is going to wreck shop against this young offensive line, and our crowd is going to overwhelm these Notre Dame players. So, boom, A&M cover and win.
Can we get these idiots to maybe be a little quieter in the back when
Billy's
we're on there?
very
Is
frustrated.
this a new? Nick, can you get some control over there?
Thank you.
And I want to know who was doing the yelling because I feel like Broninger would have been actively involved in that, the loudest talker
Probably.
in the Brazos Valley.
The
You know how they
loudest.
give those awards every year?
He
would
gets
be
it?
there.
Best of the Brazos.
Best of the Brazos. Blabbermouth. Jabberjaws
Broninger.
of the Valley.
The Dundee
So,
Award.
Here's, again, this is hard for me because I've been saying for a month, 3 weeks now, I think A&M wins this game 21-17. The score I keep landing on is 23-20. I'm between 3 and 4 points. Vegas put it at 3.5. This is what they do.
23, huh?
That's what they do.
Yeah, I'm going A&M, but
A random.
there's
thing
something
to
I
say.
have philosophically. I feel wrong about picking Notre Dame to cover, picking against A&M, because I think the Aggies are going to win this game. I just think it's going to be that close. But I'm going to sacrifice a potential pick here. I think the game is going to be that close.
Don't sacrifice. Pick with your heart.
I think it's Notre Dame to cover, and A&M wins by a field goal. I truly believe that. If it's 27-24, that'll be a higher scoring game to me. I think it's 23-20. I think it's 20-17. It might be a race to 20 in this one, but I like the Aggies to win, but by 3 points, not by 4.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And I'm right there with you. I was thinking 21-24 coming in today. I think we're going to win by 3. I think it'll come down to the last drive, and we could see another Alabama.
Oh,
type
you know what this sounds like?
game winner.
TexAgs Live Radio, a bunch of negative Nancy's.
No,
over
we're
here.
not negative.
You're picking Notre Dame.
Cover.
Seth,
I'll go so far as I think it's going to come down to Notre Dame's down 3. They get the ball.
You're giving yourself a lot of cover too, by the way.
Back in their own territory, and Texas A&M defense forces a turnover, a sack of Riley Leonard,
All right,
a
I hope
fumble.
you're happy.
Aggie
over.
recovered, kneel it out,
I
game
hope
over.
y'all go undefeated in y'all's picks, man. It's
don't.
great. I hope you're happy about
You
it.
see what he's doing here? This is good. I believe that's what we call gaslighting.
Just real quick, 2 years ago, I think you won, right?
yes.
Yeah, last year.
By the way, when did
You won?
you really?
I did.
Man, we didn't even do anything for
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to start treating
some
us with a
love.
little
Hey,
more
well, we wanted to act
respect.
like last year didn't happen, all right? So I think there was a lackluster excitement.
That is
It was
true.
just A&M football.
And then we need to set some parameters here. Like, when does the season end? Is it after the championship games?
I think last year we ended right after the week 12.
Yeah, but then y'all made us pick the bowl games too. Like,
we're not doing that.
I think you should have
I
like
think
a
that was just a way
championship.
for me to try to catch up.
You have a champion, probably. You have a championship weekend deal, and then you have like a playoff as his own situation.
yeah,
Okay.
separate
Yeah, a
bowl
separate
game.
tournament.
Separate bowl
By the way,
tournament.
Jamie McCoy joining us in the pick 6, so he'll be one of the 6.
And I think I've got another group. Okay, so this Avenue Sports crew got pissed because I was ridiculing them for their excessive drinking. So that Dallas crew and several Aggies there, they're going to pick against us as an aggregate.
As an
Do I know
aggregate.
these
There'll be
people?
like 4 Aggies in there.
What do you mean
We're going to have a
aggregate?
couple of them, I think, on the fan show.
Like they're going to
next
pick
week.
all those 4 are going to pick one.
Well, they're going to pick. They're going to be one entity,
Okay.
and so it's going to be. They're going to be in the pick 6 every week. The Avenue.
Oh,
So there you go.
okay.
Let's do it.
Good luck. Good luck to you guys.
I think this is it. I
And
think
if
we're
they're as
done.
drunk as they usually are, they'll probably pick better than us.
Post-game wrap after the game tomorrow on TexAgs.com and on YouTube, obviously. We'll have CT, Leone, and I think Chris Harrington's going to join us. So there you go. Thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll call her today. See you next time.